Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Dive Into Diet. I'm with the star of the show, Lucas Schmidt. Lucas, I'm looking at your notes here, and I'm a little terrified.
Terrified? Why?
Because we're gonna
TDEE.
Yeah, like, what does that mean?
It's an acronym. Total Daily Energy Expenditure. I said it right. I have a bad habit of saying expenditure. It's expenditure. It's not expenditure. I don't know what expenditure is, but it's expenditure.
You're the only person I've ever met who says expenditure.
Me too. Which is probably why you shouldn't say it. Whoever I've ever said that to, it's expenditure.
It's expenditure.
Just so you know. I'm sorry.
So total daily energy expenditure.
That's a mouthful.
All right, let's do it.
I just say TD. TD.
TD.
Yeah. Okay. It's not a well-known thing, however you want to put it, but it's useful. It can be useful. This is more of a specific goal-oriented topic, which is fine. The people I've seen here at Performance Medicine, I tell them I don't normally early on advocate calorie counting. It's very tedious. It's exhausting, and tedious and exhausting and consistency don't go well together. Consistency means you can do it indefinitely or for a long period of time, and if something is tedious and exhausting, the chances of you doing that are low.
Yep.
But if you have a very specific goal and you really enjoy crunching numbers and you really enjoy tracking things, because if you're a checklist person, you're like, ooh, I get to check that off my list.
Yep.
There are a lot of people that get satisfaction in here from that, or in here, wherever you want to say. So why would this be relevant? This is basically TDEE tells you approximately how many calories in a day you burn to carry on with your routine. So it incorporates your metabolic needs just to maintain your tissue, your muscle tissue, your body, your organs, and your brain, plus your activity level. So what I want to talk about today is just how do you get this number, whatever this calorie number is, and what would you do with it? So the way you get the number is first you need to calculate your base metabolic rate. There are various formulas to do that. I will say the most accurate way is to come here and get an in-body scan, and that's the number I'm going to use for today's example. But if you want to figure out the formula, you just type in formula for base metabolic rate. It's usually calculating age, weight, height. Yep. I believe it's a formula combining those. But we use the in-body to get your base metabolic rate and my own. And according to the in-body, your base metabolic rate was 1826, so 1,826 calories. That's if you just sat in that chair and did nothing else.
That's how much I'm burning.
That's how many calories your muscle tissue and the rest of your body is consuming to feel normal, to be normal. So what you would do is you take that number, and there's a chart of sort of categories. So it's how there's some convoluted, very complicated study they did to calculate these numbers, but there's a reference chart of from 1.2 up to 1.7, and it's sort of like based on your activity level. So sedentary, meaning you don't exercise regularly, and or your job is not very active, so you're sitting at a desk or something like that. 1.2. 1.3 is you're lightly active. Maybe you walk regularly throughout the week. 1.3. 1.5, moderately active. You exercise regularly, lightly, but regularly. So 3 to 5 days a week. And then very active, 1.7. That's the highest number you can use. And that is I exercise very consistently, high intensity or a lot per week, 5 to 7 days. Okay. Or your job is active, or both. So you take one of those numbers, whatever fits you, and you multiply it by your base metabolic rate. So you are very active, so you take 1.725, technically 1.725, multiply it by your 1,826 calories, and you get a TDEE, total daily energy expenditure, of 3,104 calories, meaning to keep your weight where it is, you can eat up to that amount.
Right, but that doesn't mean like eat whatever.
No.
But my top calories.
Technically, If you don't want to lose or gain, you'd eat that.
Okay, got it.
Approximately. You can refine this number. It's not painful, like literally. It's annoying to do it. If you wanted to be more exact, it's a fairly accurate number. But if you want to be more exact, you would take that number of calories, track them pretty carefully, eat as close as you can to that number for about 3 to 5 weeks. If you don't lose or gain, then you can say, okay, this is my accurate maintenance number. Okay? The only way to really know is to test it.
Right.
But it's a starting point, right? And so what would you do with that information? Well, I've already told you if you want to maintain your weight, eat around that number. You could eat a little under or a little over within 100 calories, and you're not going to see any kind of change. However, if you're a fitness person, you're going, no, I want to gain X amount of weight in muscle. You do need a surplus generally of calories to do that.
Okay. And that's when eating becomes like a job.
Yeah. Especially if you're a tall, skinny, lanky person. Like somebody I know. You have to eat lots. Woe is someone.
Yeah, poor
Woe is someone.
Poor Lucas.
But if you're trying to eat healthy and eat a lot, it's actually very difficult because you're just not hungry enough to do it. You're like, I don't want to eat more of this fibrous thing. I can't. Anyway, so if you're trying to gain weight, you would want to exceed your TDEE by around 200 to 300 calories a day consistently.
You're right. That's not easy to do.
It's not easy. 3,100 calories is a lot.
That's a lot of food.
Especially if it's healthy. Not hard at all if it's Oreos. You could eat, I could get that in one package, maybe. Probably less. I don't know. You got to calculate. Maybe that's an episode. I want you to give me a list of junk foods that I can eat to get this number. No, that'd be awful. If you wish to lose by counting calories, again, not my first choice. Let's be practical. But if you've done all the practical steps and you're really stuck, you just can't lose weight, you can try calorie counting. This might be helpful. You'd want to come in. I gave a range. You could start at 150 to 250 under your TDEE if it doesn't move your weight, because your body will try to maintain a sort of a certain set point. You could drop below that. I don't advise dropping like 1,000 calories below your TDE, especially at first.
Right.
It's like, woo, you're going to feel very hungry. We want gradual change. Either direction. Gradual is best. You're going to be slower at gaining muscle than you are at losing weight, though, generally. It's very hard work to gain muscle.
Yes.
People think Hollywood makes you think it's possible in 6 months to go from skinny to what you would call jacked to Olympian in 6 months. That is possible with steroids. That is entirely possible. Well, for a lot of people, and it still takes hard work. Don't get me wrong. Those people, the Marvel people, I'm not going to name them, the Marvel people, work really hard to get that physique. I mean, it's difficult. Now, they have people pushing them around. You can eat this now.
Yep.
They are paid lots of money to go, this is what you're eating now. It is 12 o'clock. You're going to eat this steak. Now it's 3 o'clock. You're going to eat a bunch of broccoli and rice and chicken. And it's 4 o'clock. Don't officially take that steroid, but take that steroid, etc. In real life, you cannot gain 30 pounds of muscle in 6 months without the use of anabolic steroids. I shouldn't say cannot, but
most likely.
Most likely. It's not likely. Not likely. We're talking a couple pounds a year.
Yeah.
With hard work and following a schedule like this. I don't advise you do what's called a bulking phase for longer than like 16 weeks at a time. You can have sort of an overarching exhaustion that occurs. You need a break.
Yep.
So you could do your bulking where you work really hard, lifting lots of weight and eating, 200 to 300 calories over your TDEE, and getting nerdy and nitty gritty here. But after that 16 weeks, you might do what you'd call a cutting or maintenance, where you back off on the heavy intensity a little bit and that weight. Maintain that muscle, move it still, but go back to your baseline or a little under maybe, just so you're not because you will get you might get a little pudgy, a little bit, a little squishy here and there in some areas while you're building, but you're in a calorie surplus, so that's going to happen, and you should expect that. And then you can back off, and that's when the physique will show. Right? When you back off back to normal maintenance or a little under, then the muscles, some of that fat disappears, and then all the muscles are there. So there's a little tangent about bulking. For losing, it's come in a little under. General weight loss, if you're exercising consistently and you're consistently staying at a certain amount underneath your TDEE, you could expect a half a pound to a pound a week of weight loss. Fairly, it will slow down the closer to your goal weight you get.
Yep.
People, there's like a honeymoon phase. If you've never tried any weight loss before, you start anything new. Anything. You change anything. You're like, whoa, I dropped 5 pounds last week. And then the next week you dropped 4, and then the next week you dropped 3, and you go, well, it must not be working. Actually, it is. It's meant to slow down. So the body's trying to protect you.
That's interesting.
Because it thinks something's wrong. I'm starving.
Right.
So, that covers everything. But if you really want that exact number, our number for you is fairly accurate based on the in-body's a thorough scan.
Right.
If you want to refine it and be like, no, I want to know, you got to test it. So you get your number from your base metabolic rate with this activity log info, and then try a maintenance. Try just staying. Does my weight change more than 3 to 5 pounds within 3-week period? And then if it doesn't, the number's fairly accurate. So
this was super interesting. And one, we need to call it a show because I need to go eat.
Yeah.
Because I got 3,100 calories.
You got 3,100, actually 3,104.
3,104. In healthy ways, it's gonna take some time.
It's gonna take some time.
But man, this was awesome.
Cool.
Seriously, TDEE. Add that to your repertoire, guys. Add that to the glossary. Dive into diet with Lucas Schmidt. Y'all heard it here first. No, you probably didn't. You've probably heard this before.
TDEE somewhere else. I don't know.
Hey, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today. As always, we'll see you guys next time.
Don't go away.